Hello everyone, and welcome to my Sister Wives Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Maddie Brown has never been one to mince words, and in a shocking and emotionally charged revelation, she has unleashed a scathing critique of her father, Kody Brown, declaring in no uncertain terms that, "You were never a real dad." A statement that has sent shockwaves through the Sister Wives fanbase and left viewers grappling with the heartbreaking truth behind the polished family image presented on television for over a decade. According to Maddie, the man who once seemed larger than life on screen, the patriarch of a sprawling plural family, failed in the most basic and essential ways when it came to being present, emotionally available, and supportive in the lives of his children, leaving a trail of hurt and disappointment that now colors the way fans see Kody's entire legacy. And this confession comes after years of quiet suffering, as Maddie explains how growing up in the Brown household often meant contending with a father whose attention was divided, whose love was conditional, and whose focus was more on maintaining appearances, controlling his wives, and orchestrating family dynamics than on actually showing up for his children in meaningful ways. She recounts countless moments where she and her siblings were left to navigate complex emotions, personal crises, and everyday challenges largely on their own, with Kody's involvement reduced to logistical oversight or performative gestures for the cameras, creating a sense of absence so profound that Maddie now describes it as an emotional void that no amount of material comfort, lavish homes, or family trips could ever fill. And she emphasizes that while Kody may have believed his role was being fulfilled simply by being the head of the household, the children, including Maddie, felt the emptiness of a father who was physically present but emotionally unavailable, a man whose love often seemed transactional, sporadic, or contingent upon the family running according to his strict rules and hierarchy. The heartbreaking truth, as Maddie paints it, is that the narrative of Kody as the devoted father portrayed on Sister Wives was, for many of his children, a facade, a carefully curated illusion that masked years of neglect, unfulfilled promises, and emotional distance. And she goes on to describe how witnessing Kody's preferential treatment of Robin, his favorite wife, and the children she bore, only compounded the pain, reinforcing the sense that Maddie and her siblings were somehow lesser in his eyes, not worthy of the same attention, affection, or validation. And this realization has had a lasting impact on her self-esteem, relationships, and understanding of what a father should be, leaving fans stunned at the contrast between the public perception of the Brown family and the private reality Maddie endured. She recalls specific instances that have haunted her for years, moments where she needed guidance, comfort, or simply a listening ear, only to be met with indifference, excuses, or a preoccupation with Kody's own desires and ambitions. And she explains that these repeated experiences of emotional neglect taught her early on that her father was not the reliable, nurturing figure one would expect, but a man whose priorities were often misaligned with the needs of the children he had brought into the world. Maddie's revelation also touches on the long-term effects of growing up in such an environment, as she confesses how her understanding of fatherhood, trust, and familial loyalty has been profoundly shaped by this deficit, prompting her to seek healthy relationships, emotional accountability, and authentic connection in her own adult life, while simultaneously grappling with the unresolved anger, disappointment, and grief that accompany recognizing that her father, despite all appearances, failed to fulfill the most fundamental role expected of him. And in doing so, Maddie challenges fans to reconsider the broader dynamics of the Brown family, questioning the emotional cost of Kody's leadership style, polygamous lifestyle, and carefully orchestrated media persona. The emotional weight of her statement, "You were never a real dad," reverberates not just within her family but throughout the Sister Wives community, as viewers reconcile the contrast between the loving father figure many assumed Kody to be and the stark reality Maddie exposes. A reality where children grew up yearning for presence, understanding, and genuine care, only to encounter a man whose focus was fragmented, sometimes indifferent, and ultimately insufficient. And this raw honesty has sparked a massive conversation online, with fans expressing shock, empathy, and in some cases anger toward Kody, questioning how someone portrayed as a devoted patriarch could be so absent when it mattered most. Maddie's bravery in speaking out also opens a broader dialogue, about the challenges of polygamous families, particularly the ways in which leaders can become so consumed with managing multiple households, relationships, and appearances that the emotional needs of children are overlooked or deprioritized, and her testimony serves as both a personal catharsis and a warning, highlighting the importance of true parental involvement, consistent presence, and emotional engagement, regardless of family structure, fame, or societal perception, and she insists that, while she loves her father, acknowledging the failures of his parenting is essential not only for her own healing, but also for giving other children in similar circumstances a voice and validation for their experiences. Fans and critics alike have responded with a mixture of heartbreak and vindication, as many note that Maddie's words echo sentiments felt by other Brown children over the years, particularly as they navigate adulthood and reflect on their upbringing, revealing a hidden layer of the family story that has often been overshadowed by drama, land deals, and the public feuds between the wives. And Maddie's unflinching honesty forces a reckoning with the question of what it truly means to be a parent, a father, and a role model, especially in the context of a high-profile polygamous family where appearances can mask deep-seated dysfunction, neglect, and emotional voids. And as Maddie continues to speak out, fans are left grappling with the emotional reality of her words, the heartbreak they reveal, and the undeniable truth that, for many of Kody's children, fatherhood was not experienced in the way it should have been. And this revelation has permanently altered the narrative of sister wives, shifting the focus from surface-level drama to the profound and often painful truths of growing up in a family where a father's presence was more performative than authentic, leaving viewers to question what responsibility he bears for the emotional well-being of the children he raised. And ultimately, Maddie's bold declaration becomes a watershed moment in the ongoing story of the Brown family, a moment that exposes the human cost behind the reality TV spectacle, the silence of children who endured, and the courage it takes to speak the heartbreaking truth that Kody Brown, despite all his fame and power, was never truly the father his children needed him to be. As Maddie's revelations continue to ripple through the sister wives community, it becomes increasingly clear that her experience is emblematic of the hidden struggles many children in high-profile polygamous families face, where parental attention is fragmented, and the pressures of public perception often take precedence over emotional nurturing. Maddie recounts how, from a young age, she observed the constant balancing act Kody performed, juggling multiple households, wives and children, but, despite his efforts to maintain appearances for the cameras, the emotional connection that should have existed between a father and his child was often conspicuously absent, leaving her to confront feelings of neglect and invisibility at every turn. And she emphasizes that this emotional void was compounded by the apparent favoritism Kody exhibited toward certain children or wives, creating a household dynamic that was not only uneven but also deeply confusing and isolating for those on the receiving end of less attention. And Maddie's courage in addressing these painful truths publicly has inspired countless viewers to reflect on the hidden realities behind the televised drama.